Hello?
Hey, it's me.
Heath. I never expected to hear from you. It's been so long. How did you reach this line? Only officers use it.
I was able to tap into the government database. I was able to pull up your file. It had your detainment room number listed. I never expected the call to go through, but thankfully here we are. I am in a patrol ship right now, though, headed to get you guys. It's funny, who would have thought with all this technology I'd be able to hotwire this bad boy? I don't have much time, though. I will be touching down soon and won't be able to contact you again. But I promise, I will find you.
So much has changed here. I don't know if it's worth you coming back and risking your survival.
That's not for you to worry about at all. Just know I am coming. Are you okay?
Just come home. Come get us, please.
I promise I am. I have to go though. I'm about to prepare for landing and the line will cut off when I enter the atmosphere. I will find you both. I love you.
Whatever you do, stay safe. I love you too.
In a world stricken with poverty and overpopulation, the citizens of Earth are now subject to a near-tyrannical rule of the World Safety Control Board, or WSCB. This organization is responsible for creating and enforcing the laws of Earth, and they employ the use of a highly intelligent AI system to monitor and track down known criminals. To deal with the overpopulation, instead of placing people in prisons on Earth, a new prison was erected on the Moon, merely called Lunar. Even the most petty crimes landed people on the distant facility, and out of the over 20 million people who have been sent to Lunar, not one has returned. Until now. Lunar, Lost Ryder, is a first-person stealth game we will release on the PC. It follows the events of the CGI film Lunar and puts the player in control of the now fugitive Heath Ryder, who escaped from the prison. Having been taken from his wife and child, Heath is now desperate to find them. Heath will need to avoid detection and sneak his way into the most populated area on Earth to find his family and escape to freedom. On his quest to find his family, Heath will come into contact with hostile AI enforcers, guards, cybernetic dogs, and the occasional friendly NPC. He will also discover important information about the terrible experiments being conducted on prisoners who are taken to Lunar. Heath's tenacity, the corrupt WSCB, the hyper-intelligent AI, and the horrible knowledge of what is happening on the Moon will lead to an epic climax that will leave the world completely changed. We want the player to feel the fear and tension that Heath does during gameplay, so we have opted to create a first-person perspective for our game. Players will need to use the environment and the limited amount of tools provided to them to make it past the imposing cybernetic enforcers and the entire WSCB out to find him. Forcing the player to view the world from first person means that the suspense of the game will be present always. If the player hears something behind them, they will need to turn completely around to see what is happening. Players will need to sneak their way through levels of decrepit apartment buildings, high-tech facilities, the streets of rundown cities, and high-security government buildings. They will be on the lookout for resources they can use to create or buy valuable items, weapons and what little ammo they can find, and important information they might be able to use against the WSCB. They'll be able to interact with NPCs at various times during the game, and befriending these NPCs will allow the player to bring them on missions to assist. Players will be encouraged to use a variety of tactics to reach mission goals. A facility that is only lightly guarded might be easy to clean up with open combat, while more highly secure places might warrant the player sneak past enemy patrols and even hack security bots to create distractions for them. During the early parts of the game, the player will have no means of fighting back besides a pistol he found on board his transport shuttle and his bare fists. This means that the highly armored AI enforcers will be impossible for him to take down, and will be forced to sneak past them using the environment to the best of his ability. Along the way, Heath will unlock the option to gain skills to improve his chances of survival as he combats the WSCB. These skills will allow Heath to live longer should he find himself in open combat, make it easier to hack computers and the AI enemies, allow him to better hide from enemies, and allow him to make modifications to the equipment he finds. The choices the player makes will be very important when choosing skills, as no one will be able to unlock all the skills available in a single playthrough. The overall tone of Lunar Lost Rider is a dark, futuristic version of Earth. Civilian buildings will be run down, and many may have holes in crumbling walls. Factories will be filled with large-scale equipment for producing the robots that the WSCB relies upon. Government buildings will be clean, well-maintained, and have a number of futuristic technologies used to conduct daily business, run the building, and activate security should the need arise. The visuals will show a clear divide between the masses of Earth and the aristocratic elite and government officials that run the corrupt WSCB. The sound in a game is a key component in increasing the drama and tension the player feels. Lunar, Lost Rider, will have an emotional and dark soundtrack to emphasize the feeling of hopelessness Heath feels, and the state the Earth is in. During combat, or when Heath is discovered, the music will switch to a more cyberpunk style and give the player a feeling of increased adrenaline. The many robotic enemies in the game will have very clear mechanical sound effects, and the cybernetic dogs will give off a strange mechanical bark to alert the players to their presence. These sound effects are important since they allow the player to adjust to the current situation. If they hear an enforcer approaching, they may wish to hide until the enemy passes, or plan an ambush to attempt to hack the unit. The mechanics of Lunar Lost Rider can be boiled down to 3 categories: stealth, combat, and navigation. Stealth mechanics will include actions like crouching, taking cover, and hacking various objects and enemies found in the levels. While crouching, Heath will move quietly and be able to avoid or sneak up on his enemies. Heath can also take cover behind walls or larger objects to avoid the sight range of hostiles. Hacking will involve several types of minigames that allow the player to temporarily access or control certain computer or robotic features around the level. Hacking security consoles will allow the player to view certain cameras around the facility they are in, or hacking an AI enforcer will allow the player to set up a distraction while he sneaks through a heavily guarded area. Combat will have actions such as attacking, hiding, and defending. Players will be able to attack with various forms of weapons, including Heath's own fists. It is important to note that not all weapons will be effective on every enemy. Try as he might, Heath will not be able to take down an enforcer with only his fists. The player will also be able to hide in his surroundings if he initiates combat that is not favorable. The player will need to lose line of sight with the hostile force and then avoid detection for a period of time while the enemies attempt to locate the player. If Heath is ever spotted, enemies will be on higher alert in the area he's spotted in for the rest of the mission. Finally, Heath will be able to defend himself from attacks if he is close to something that he can take cover behind. Most cover can be destroyed though, so it is important to keep moving if you find yourself in open combat. Navigation is a key point in the game. Players will be able to walk, run, sneak, climb, and jump. Sneaking includes moving slowly to avoid detection, as well as wall hugging to make it more difficult for others to see you. Players can climb objects that are a reasonable height and be able to jump across certain areas. Players will be encouraged to use their navigation skills freely to find new and interesting ways of traversing the level. We want to include enough paths in each level that players will be able to experience a different route every time they play. The UI in Lunar Lost Rider will be a minimalistic style in which very little is displayed on screen. Should an enemy start to notice Heath, a curved line will appear in the center of the screen, indicating the direction of the enemy who can see him. The line will start out very faint and work its way towards solid the closer the enemy comes to realizing Heath is there. If the player looks around while an enemy is looking for Heath, they will see a small white eye above the enemy's head. This indicates that the enemy has noticed something and may be close to spotting Heath. If Heath is ever spotted, the eye turns red, and the player will need to choose to enter combat or run away. If Heath stays out of sight for a period of time after being spotted, the eye will turn blue. This indicates the enemy is still looking for Heath, but doesn't know exactly where he is. If Heath is ever damaged, instead of a usual health bar, we will use the classic first-person shooter style of damage indication by turning the screen red. The more damage Heath takes, the more red the screen gets. And while Heath isn't taking damage, the screen will slowly return to its original color. The limited ammo the character will have access to will be displayed on the weapon itself. This means the only item that will be displayed on the screen will be a quick access to items and equipment the player has. This will be a customizable bar at the bottom of the screen that is hotkeyed to the number buttons. With a game so focused on sneaking and stealth, it is incredibly important that the enemy AI be a key focus of the game. The enemies in the game will follow a strict set of rules and have numerous abilities that allow them to find Heath as he traverses the level. Enforcers will have scanning technology that allows them to locate someone even when they are behind certain types of cover. The cybernetic dogs will be remarkably fast, and, should they spot the player, be incredibly difficult to hide from. At the start of a level, AI enemies will have predetermined patrol paths that allow the player to analyze and avoid them. Should enemies spot Heath, they will pursue him until they either die or lose track of Heath for an extended period of time. If Heath successfully hides from his pursuers, they will adopt a more aggressive patrol route and be on a higher alert in an attempt to relocate Heath. They may even inform enemies in other areas of the level and increase the alert level of other units before Heath even reaches that area. Enemies will have a wide range of complexity, from simple human foot soldiers to the more complex AI units. Scout drones will fly around more secure complexes and may be able to spot Heath from an awkward angle. Heath will be able to knock out human guards silently, while the more complex AI enforcers will need some more work to deactivate. There will be heavy AI units that have a wide range of abilities, will quickly kill Heath, and be unable to hack, but they will be very slow moving, and a crafty player will be able to avoid detection from these lumbering behemoths. Lunar Lost Ryder promises to be an exciting new IP that leads players on a wild ride through futuristic look at Earth. Get ready to experience the outstanding gameplay and emotional storyline of Heath Ryder in his desperate quest to find his family.